Wow, what a great turnout. This is the best turnout of all year. I want to thank you all. And I want to especially welcome our esteemed speakers, Tom Porter, Bear Clan, and Kay Olan, Wolf Clan. And we tried to get them earlier in the year. In fact, they were going to be one of our first talks, and then we had that huge storm blow in right at 6 p.m. And they never made it, and we were lucky to get them back in the museum. This is going to be live streamed on Facebook as well as on our website right now. So if anybody doesn't like the idea that they're going to be listened to or seen on camera, let us know or hide it back. But so I'll just turn the stage over to them, and thank you again.
Thank you. Yeah. Let me try. Well, first I'd like to just say I'm glad and pleased to meet you all here tonight, and I'm going to try my best. My first language is Mohawk language, and when I was about 7 years old, that's when I first started to learn English, because I had to go to school. The law said I had to go to school, so my grandmother allowed me to go to school. But she didn't want me to go to school, because she's afraid that if I go to school, I will lose my language, and I will lose my identity, and that's why she didn't want to send me to school. And the funny thing about it is her mother attended the Carlisle School in Pennsylvania, her mother. And so she became a school teacher on the reservation, because in those days you don't need to get too much certification in those days. But she was a school teacher there. And of all the kids she had, she never taught them how to talk English or how to read or to write, except the last born one. And she was 20 years younger than my grandmother. She was the baby of the family. She went to school in Fonda when she was a little girl, that my grandma's sister. And I think that our family was the last Mohawk family to leave the valley. And they left the valley in, I think it was 1832 or 1833. And great-grandmother, I don't know if it's great-great-grandmother or great-grandma, I don't know which one it is. They're all gone, so I can't ask them. But they had a house. You know where the railroad, how the house is in Amsterdam? It was right next to there. My great-grandmother's house was there. And then the railroad went through in 1832 or 1833, went right through her house. And that's how come they moved back to the reservation. They had two homes. One on St. Louis Island in Quebec, and one over here in Amsterdam, and they used to go back and forth by the season, because my grandmother and my great-grandma and all of them are basket makers. Whole family were basket. Even me, I'd make baskets before too. And so that's, I tell people, because I'm not for sure, it's another fact, that our family was the last Mohawks to leave the valley, the very last one, and I guess the first to return. And the first to return too. Yeah. Well, anyways, I want to share with you. I just got a very sad call last night. I'll share with you too. My granddaughter is 10 years old, and she's crying on the phone last night. She called me up from Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada, because my daughter married a man from there. And that's where they're living. And my daughter's a nurse at the Veterans Hospital over there. And my 10-year-old daughter called up, and she's crying. She can't hardly talk. She's crying so bad. And she says, I don't know what to do, she says. My grandma, that's her father's mother, they lived there, wants me to go to Sunday schools and all that kind of stuff. And so I try to tell my grandma, I'm a Native American and I want to learn my stuff, not the Christian stuff. And her grandmother scolded her and almost really, it broke her heart. And she was so crying. And I cried too. I don't know why, that kind of religion is so not heart. She's just a little kid. They should wait, let her decide as she gets bigger, you know. So I don't know what happened since last night. But I've been worrying about how they. I was even flying out there. Maybe I'll make it worse, I don't know. But I said, well, anyway, I says, respect your grandma, your father's mother, respect her. And I says, maybe she might understand later, or maybe she could get worse later, I don't know. But I says, in the meantime, just try to respect her and, you know, trying to stay away a little bit. Now, don't get too close then if she's going to be mean to you. But try to keep her respect going. That's the only thing I could tell her. But anyways, that's from the day in life of the Mohawk people. We still have tragedies and still have historical traumas that we have to deal with yet. It's not over yet. Our kids, they try to be themselves and they aren't allowed to. But anyways, I'm going to share with you what we call a Thanksgiving address. And some people calls it Thanksgiving address. Some people refers to it as an opening prayer. Some people refers to as a greetings address, all kinds of things. But in my language, we call it this speech or this talk. We call Ohondo Gaihodekpo. That's what we call it. So when you say Thanksgiving address or opening prayer or whatever, it's not wrong, but it's not exactly right either. But Ohondo Gaihodekpo, I will translate word for word, but it means, Ohondo means in the front or before. Galiwa is issues or matters that are important. Dekpo means the things you say before matters or issues of importance. So in all the Haudenosaunee people, which when I say Haudenosaunee, it's talking about this cane. Haudenosaunee means the big house, referring to longhouse. And so if the cane is like this, it will be east to west. And this one here, this group of pegs are Mohawks. And the sun goes is Oneidas. Then it goes more west is Onondagas, the 14 leaders. And as it goes more west, Cayugas, and they got 10 leaders. And then it goes to west more, and that's Seneca, so 8 leaders. And all together there's 50 pegs. But because I carry it around all the time, some of them fell out, and I didn't have time to recarve it and put it back in. So that's why there's some missing. It's not because, but usually when there's a peg missing, it usually means that one of the leaders has passed away. So they remove it, and then they put it back through a big ceremony called condolence. And so whenever you talk about the Haudenosaunee, those 5 nations, you always start from the east, where the sun comes up, and it touches the Mohawk first, then Oneida and Darkaiva Seneca. So when you do the roll call of the Haudenosaunee, my elder says, and they'll listen, if you stay where the sun starts and go where the sun sets, and name them in that order, they think you have been taught. The elders have taught you. But if they ask you the roll call of Haudenosaunee, and you say Seneca, Oneida, Mohawk, and you mix it all up, the sun don't mix up. So they say you haven't been taught properly. And that's what my uncle used to say. So I keep that in mind, because I don't want him to say I wasn't taught right. And then he says, so that's when it's like this, east to west, the big house, the big long house. And he said, the roof of our house is the sky, and the floor of our long house is the floor of Mother Earth. And the door of the east is where the sun comes up, and the door on the west is the sun go down. That's how big our house is. And this house was established 2,000 years ago. A Messiah came and was born because we, the Haudenosaunee people, had abandoned our Creator's teachings at the beginning of the world, at a time of history. And we decided that we make our own decision. We don't need Creator or nothing. And so for hundreds of years, they went on their own. And as a result, a war quarrels and arguments and disputes arose because they have no more spiritual understanding. And then not only did that happen, but also war, and it established the creation of what they call warriors societies, which became technical. And for many generations, there was war all over, even brother against brother, almost like what you're hearing in the United States now, almost like that. But the next step is going to be worse, like what happened to us if we don't watch out. And so because of that, we abandoned our spiritual understanding. War developed. And I'm going to tell you the truth too. Not only that war developed, but amongst the Mohawk, in the great-great-great-grandfather's time, over 2,000 years ago, not only did war develop, but cannibalism became a common practice. So not only do you kill your enemy, you dismember and you cook it and you eat. That's what happened. Now, I tell you this because I don't want to keep a secret. Because my uncle and grandma said, if you don't tell the real truth of history, it's going to come back again. So I always tell the truth about the history. And so sometimes some of my younger people said, I don't like to talk about it when we were cannibal. I said, but you have to, because that's what the truth is, what we were. And we quit that, and we embraced a lot of peace and the Creator's spiritual things after that. I says, but we have to tell it so that we don't make the same mistake again someday. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that's what I urge the United States and all countries of the world to do, is to always tell the truth about the history. That way it leads to the commonality and brotherhood of all peoples in the world. But if you don't tell the truth, and you cover history up and beautify it and romanticize it, then the boogeyman will come alive again. Anyway, when the tree is standing up like this, it becomes a tree. The cane becomes a tree. And so all of these leaders coming out of there, with the leaders of the nations, are like the branches of the white pine coming from the main tree. And on the shade of the branches of the tree, in the coolness of the shade of the tree, man can abandon war and bloodshed, and if they seek to have peace, they can sit under the shade of the tree in peace and brotherhood. And at the top is the eagle, which is the guardian bird of the Lakota, the Mohawks, Cheyenne, Choctaw, Navajo, Hopi, of all the indigenous people. It's the guardian bird, because it's considered the bird fly closest to the Creator. And that's why that eagle is up there. And so that is a story all by itself. It takes 10 days, 5 hours each day, 10 or 11 days, maybe 12 days to recite that constitution, that story. It takes, and we are fortunate that we do have a small number of Haudenosaunee people that can still do this, recite this, and they don't use a book, they don't use nothing, they only use their head, their memory, orally. And so our young people have studied it enough where they've been doing that recitals in the last 11 years, every year. Just how do you say it, without no culture, just for a matter of fact, every year they've been doing it for 11 years now. So I'm going to just put this down for now, and I'm going to start this other one. What I want to share with you is, and I'd like you to help me if you want to, is whenever I'm going to say in this talk, and our mind is agreed, if you want to try to do like a Mohawk or a Senecas or Onondagas, when you hear a speaker say, and our mind is agreed, if you agree, the Mohawks, they say to. That's the word for Mohawk for yes. Or I agree, it's like the toe on your feet. Toe. That's the way you say yes, the old-fashioned, real old language. Toe. And my grandmother used to say too, whenever you see an elder stand up, they never holler or say, go like this to get your attention. They don't never do that. In our long house, amongst the kids too, Grandma told us, when you see an elder stand up, he won't say nothing. He's going ready to start the ceremony, ready to start the talk, to create a talk. He says, you got eyes to see, you're always looking around. You got ears to hear and everything. So as soon as you see an elder stand up and you don't move, you see that. Everybody quiet now. He's going to talk. But he's not going to holler and get your attention because it's an inbuilt respect way. Our kids even knows that. So as soon as the elders stand up, all kids are quiet now. You don't have to holler them, scold them. It's inbuilt. But anyway, and then I want to share with you too, it's important that you understand too. I always tell people that I was so fortunate because when I was 11 or 12, 11, 10 or 11, 12, I can't remember. I didn't never write it down. My great-grandfather, that was my grandma's uncle. And if my grandmother was living today, she was born in 1889. So she'd be somewhere 130 or something like that. Maybe a little more, I'm not sure, I didn't do the math. But this is her uncle. He went to Carlisle too. And that was his sister. That was the school teacher, my grandmother's mother. And but my grandma never could talk English or couldn't read or write. That's the one who didn't want me to go to school. And they must have known something that people don't know. And maybe that's how come I gravitated to our tradition fiercely. I mean, I really embrace our tradition, our spirituality more than anybody, I would say, in my whole family, because of what Grandma made the decision. And so that's why people invite me all over. Priests in Alberta, Canada, or Montana, Flathead people, to talk and share about tradition. Because there's not hardly any more people that can do that. So Kay and I and different ones, or the few that still can do that yet. There's a couple handful of us, but according to the whole nation, a couple handful isn't that much. And so we're always busy now, trying to repair the damage to the residential school state. And so when I was around 10, 12, or 11 years old, American man came over to Iroquois Reservation. And this man, I don't know if he was from Cornell or Yale University or Harvard, but one of the big schools, he was from there. And he said, I'm looking for Paul Miro. That's my great-grandfather. He says, I understand he went to Carlisle, and I understand he also knows lots about old tradition. And I want to ask him questions. But Paul Miro, my great-grandfather, was deaf. When you're all deaf, I think if you holler loud, you might catch it one syllable. But because he went to Carlisle, if you write a little bit big on the paper, he can read it. He just got thick glasses, plus he's got magnifying glass. And he'll stand there a long time, go like this, try to read that, big letters. He'll write big though. And then after a while, and then he also could read your lip if you talk Mohawk. He knows how to read lips. Not totally, but most of it you could catch it. But English, you won't catch it. So between lip reading and writing, to him, the guy that came from the university, I guess, big school, he asked if I can interpret for him to ask my grandpa what he wants to know. I said, I'll try. Now I was only a little kid. And my grandmother, she sent him to me because she don't talk English. So I'm the only one who can talk English like that. So finally I finished, and all of a sudden Grandpa understood me. He clapped his head, and he said, I mean, now I understand what you want. He was dancing a little bit and clapped his hand. He was so happy. He understood. And what the man wants to know, he says, ask your grandpa. When the Mohawk or Native people, especially Mohawk, says God or Creator, can you define what that is? That's what I want to know. How does she make definition when you say God or Creator or Great Spirit or whatever like that? So again, I talk, I write, again, he clapped his hand, dashed a little bit. Now he says, I understand, he says, tell that man, he says, you got to have 200 or 300 years. You got to have 200 or 300 people to help him. And you start right now, and you count every people in the whole world, even the baby that just born 1 second ago. Don't miss one. You got to count every tree in all the forest, the whole world, even the little baby tree just born. You got to count every frog, every deer, every muskrat, every raccoon, every mouse, every bird that flies in the sky, and every thunder, and every raindrop. That night, you got to count every star that's in the night sky, and don't forget one. After 300 years of 300 people gathering, you add that all up, and the sum or the total of all those life, that's what we call God. That's what we call Creator. So that means that God is in you, He's in you, and He's in you. God is in that tree. God is in that frog, in that buffalo, in that deer. And life, the total in the universe, that's what God is. And God isn't just a man, but He can be. He can be a woman too. And so he says, uncle, my other uncle says, not grandpa, uncle said about this. He said, in the Western people who came here from Europe, they say that man was made in the image of God. That's only a fraction of truth. That's only a fraction of truth. That's not exactly wrong, but it's not right. It's wrong if you exclude the buffaloes and the birds and the trees and everything that lives. So when the buffalo talks about God, they're made in the image of God, so God is a buffalo. When the wolf talks about God, they were made in the image of them, God. So God is a wolf. And when you and I talks about it, he's a human like us. And that's right. But the buffalo is right too. And the bird is right too. So all life is sacred. That's why if we hunt for the food, like a deer or something, you have to make a ceremony first before you take the life of that. And you only take the life if your kids is hungry. They need the food to live. But you never hunt for sport or for trophy. Never. That's sinful. That's wrong. Any Indian, no matter Cree or Ojibwe, Choctaw, Hopi, they all know the same thing. Even if you go to Borneo, some indigenous people there, they have the same belief. If you go deep into Africa, where you find real Africans that have never been colonized, they have the same belief. It's universal amongst indigenous all over the world, those teachers. So when we say Creator, we're not just talking about a little human being. We're talking about a power that's humongous, that creates the whole universe. And it can be all kinds of things because it has the power to do that. So that's important to know that when you're studying about Native people. Otherwise, if you don't, you'll miss the boat. Yeah, you leave all sacred life behind. So now, if you don't mind if I sit down a little bit, because that it's not too good anymore.
Yes, sir.
And so what I'm going to tell you, this one, was given to us at the beginning of the world. Because in our story of creation, it is our understanding from our elders and mother and everybody that we originally came from another planet in the universe other than Earth. And this place, we all know it, named Mohawk, Seneca, Onondagas. We call it, and Onondagas and Seneca have a different dialect than I do. It's like French and English and Spanish. It's the same root. Well, that's the way Senecas and Ondagmoa. We have different dialect, but we can pretty almost understand each other if you study a little bit. But if you don't study a little bit, you can't really understand. But I understand all 5 of them because I've been growing up there to listen to them all the time. So I can pretty understand. I'm not fluent in it, but I can understand it though. You can't talk about me, and I'll know. And so that, different dialects, but that one word of that planet where we came from is called Galumbyake. Can you say it? Galumbyake. That means the place in the sky. That's literally what it means. The place in the sky. And from there, a woman came here, was permitted to come here in the stories, in the history. And that woman, we call her Gajit Jagayon. In translated in English, it means the matured flower. That was her name. She came here, but when she came here, she was already pregnant. She was pregnant. So the father of her baby is from the other place too, but she was born here on planet Earth. And she came from the other planet here. And that's how come all the Haudenosaunee people to this day are matrilineal. Because of that woman is the one who began life. And that's why. And so amongst, when I say matrilineal, I mean that women are the ones that choose or initiate which man is going to be a leader politically, and which man is going to be a leader spiritually. And if they don't follow the right law, the proper law, women initiate their removal. They call dethroning, or later the United States adopted that, and they call impeachment process. But before this time, they don't know what's impeachment, because you can't impeach a king and a queen. They're divine forever. See, until they got here, they learned that from the Mohawk and Senecas. That when the leader's not right, you remove them. And there's a big ceremony for that. And it's a really disgraceful thing to happen. They don't kill you, they don't hang you or put you in electric chair, but they, I forgot the term they call it. Do you remember what they call that when they do that? In English, there's a word for it, I can't remember what that word is. But they let you go. They remove you from...
Exile.
Yeah, like that. No, there's another word besides that.
Depose?
No. Yes, like a shandam, I guess. And so they put them at the edge of the community, and they'll say, you have to go now. But before they go, they scar their face on one side, so it leaves a scar. Or they clip the ear on the left side. So my uncle talking about it, because you don't follow the law of honor and truth, the way our village does, or our nation does. And so he was warned 3 times by the women and the nephews, and he don't do it. He repeats his mistake. On the 3rd one, that's when they take him out. They guard it here. Like I said, they don't put it in an electric chair, they don't hang it, they don't put it in the jail. They put it out. And now go and look for someone in the world who thinks like you do, and that's where you live with them. Here, you don't believe the way you're acting improperly. So they will never have peace, and we will never have peace, so that's why I have to separate. So now they say, his legs is hanging at the edge of the world, no place to put his foot. Now his hand is on the creation, the Creator is what's going to happen to him now. Usually when that happens, and I've seen it happen to one person in my life. Nobody talks to them. And my uncle says, and grandma says, when that man who has been banished, that's the word I'm looking for, banished, you got it. $60,000 I did. If we had that, I'd go with you to Florida. So they banish him. So now this man who has been banished, he's got that mark, or they'll clip the ear in a certain way. Like he's now going to maybe go to Onondagas, because they don't know what happened to him. Or maybe he's going to go further where Michigan is, where the Potawatomis left, or the Algonquins, or other Shawnee. Or maybe he's going to go further to Lakota, or maybe even further to where Apaches left. And he's going to join them, because they don't know what he did. Okay? But when he gets to Onondaga sees that mark. And they say, just keep on going. Don't even bother stopping here. When he goes to where Ojibways live, they see that mark. Just keep on going. Don't stop here. We don't want trouble. And my uncle and my grandma said they were so well known that even as you walk in the forest, and the beavers and the muskrat and the deer sees that mark, even they turn their back and they tell them, keep going. Even the animals knows that. And that was the biggest, and they said a person who was banished, they usually don't last long. They die of lonesomeness because they got no friend anymore. And that's why it's important to tell the truth. And that's why I know that in Albany, it's a building like this, the education building in Albany. I never got there until 68. And when I went there, 68, on the wall, big painting, way bigger than that. Maybe 6 times bigger than that pavement. And at the bottom, it was in gold. Some artists have painted it. 1754 meeting, Albany meeting. I know this because that man that told that professor about the Creator is the one who told me. And he used to say, 1754, that I don't know if he didn't have teeth or he don't talk English good, but I used to think that's how you say it. 1754, 1754. So I was a teenager, that's how people. Same way, 1754. They say, are you old man or something? How come you don't say it right? But I didn't know it was wrong. And he said that's when our great-grandfathers was teaching Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson about the Constitution, about how we make government. And from there, they made the United States government and didn't follow king and queen no more. So if you actually take the American government system, and I tell you about how our Constitution is, you would think it was a Xerox copy. And there's documentation Benjamin Franklin made that he said that, but they don't say it enough. They don't tell it enough. It's got dust somewhere in some museum because they don't want the truth. So it's time, I'm saying it's time again now that we should revisit the leaders of the United States and the world to remind them of what the true Constitution is. Because that time in 1754, they told them that grandmothers, women, are the ones who sift the men. Who's going to be the leaders and religious leaders. And if they don't follow right, they remove them. But Benjamin and Thomas Jefferson, that time, they didn't want that, nothing to do with women having anything to say, because they just came from Europe. And in Europe, women didn't have a word to say. They just didn't have none. So then they rejected that, Benjamin and them, until 1924, when my mother was a little girl, they finally passed it in Congress in 1924 that women can vote now and have a say. Isn't that nice? I thought it was good. Finally. But there's still a lot of way to go yet. Still a lot of way to go. Yeah. But anyways, the subject matter, I'm going to make it short because I took too much time. There's other ones. I'm going to tell you. At the beginning of when the woman came here to bring light, I wish we had more time to do creation story. But it takes about at least 2-3 hours just to do that, because it's really intricate. But anyway, when we were first made here, we were made with fire, the dirt of the Mother Earth, water, and air, and two more powers. The power that belongs to planet Earth here, and also the power that came from that, where our great-great-grandmother came from, that planet called Haudenosaunee. All those ingredients is what made us put it together and mold it human. And that's how we came from that. And then when they finished, they use of fire. And that's how come when you touch yourself, you touch somebody, you feel a warmth, because there's a fire going in there at their birth, came from the beginning of the world. When you're done your life, you touch somebody who's passed away, no more fire. Cold as ice, cold as a rock. It's gone, the fire's out. See? So that's what they used to start our life. And anyway, when he finished the creation, the creator, and you remember when I said creator? There can be a man or a woman. There can be an animals or birds. And that's why if you ever read literature from the native, usually not native wrote it. Usually European wrote about the natives. The way their eyes see it or hear it. Very thing real done by native. When they describe the Indian people, native people, talking about creator talking to creator, it's always that the creator is a buffalo. They talk to the native, or the eagle is talk to the native, or the tree talk to the native, or the wind talk to the native, because the creator is so powerful. My grandmother said, 1,000th of a second, if the real creation come, we die. By the way, it's too powerful for us. It's not. It can't. No light can see that. That's why it always comes through buffalo or tree or wind, so it don't hurt us, because Creator doesn't want to hurt us. If you ever read literatures, a lot of European people who wrote about us will say that it's always some animal or some natural things communicate with us, and that's really the Creator. So what I'm going to tell you now, and then don't forget when I say, and our minds agreed, you will say, oh, that's a good one. So now this, what I'm telling you, is the original instructions that the Creator gave us and the Mother Earth gave us when we are allowed to live here on planet Earth. And the Mohawk never forgot that. Never. Although we almost became extinct. Not because we abandoned it, but because of colonization and suppression. But we went through that and we survived. And that's why I'm here. But I want to also remind you that this, what I'm telling you, is also the same, almost the same speech that when a little baby is born to a Mohawk woman and man, this speech is told to the baby that's only seconds old. They didn't even clean the baby up yet. They just cleaned the mucus of birth from the nostril and the mouth of the baby. Wrapped the baby up. Didn't give him bath yet. There's seconds that it came out. They hand it to the father or to the mother's uncle. And he's got to talk this talk to the baby. And what we're going to do with you is the same speech almost as when a baby is born. We have to introduce the baby, welcome the baby to the earth here, as our great-grandmother was welcomed here at the beginning of time. So bear that in mind. So when all my kids were born, I had to do that to them. And to give you an example, my son is named Haudenosaunee. So I have to tell the Earth Mother, my son is named Haudenosaunee. I have to repeat it 3 times, his name, so the Mother Earth will know him. And then at the end, I said to my son, I said to Mother Earth, my son Haudenosaunee, you feed me from your garden every day I eat. I have a son. He's just born. I thank you because he's born. And I ask you, Mother Earth, to feed him every day, just like you did to me and my grandma and grandpa. So he will live. Take care of him, Mother Earth. Then I say to him, Aluyanos, he's only 2 years old. The earth is your mother. And the earth is the mother of all living things. I want you to love your mother, the earth, and never disrespect your mother, the earth. Love her every day. And if you do that, maybe you're going to live to be 100 years old, 120 years old, but you never forget to respect your mother. That's one example of it. It's done to every baby that's born, even to this day. Now we're going to begin. First, when I said creator, I told you what creator is, right? Power that's so big you can't. They don't fit in nobody's shoes. So to the creator, here, this historical society, some weeks and months ago said, let's have a gathering. And we're going to talk about the native tradition, way they believe. We tried and a big tornado came and couldn't do it. I got here though. I was here. But everybody else didn't come. Oh yeah, another one over there. Yeah. And anyway, so the same thing now, we try second time. And so I looked around. So you came from near or far. I came from 200 miles away. And big road. And so when we came here, we could have accident. We could maybe hit a deer on the road. Or maybe big stone fall the mountain on the road, we get hurt. But no, our Creator cleared the path where we came from your house to here, me and you. So we're all here safe. And so what we will do, you and I, is we will symbolically and literally, orally, put a many thank you before us, and many greetings, multiple layers, and compassion and love, until it touches the ceiling of this room. And then you and I, we will pick it up at the perimeters, the big pile, thank you, greeting and love, and we throw it in the universe. We say, Creator, thank you. You brought us together safely. We were shoulder to shoulder, this family here today, and our mind is agreed. And then it is also the human and her uncle, her grandfather's brother, Kay's brother. He was the chief in our clan, my clan, the Bear Clan. He was a Bear Clan. He was a short guy, and I copy him the way he do it all the time. In our lawn house, we're there. He starts and he goes like this and go around counterclockwise. And just only the woman, no men. And he looks at every woman. Oldest woman, middle-aged, teenage girl, and little babies in the cradle board. Can't walk yet. And when he finishes, I seen the most beautiful woman in our assembly right here tonight. Best looking, best good woman, the whole world, right here. Then he go again, counterclockwise. This time no woman, just men. You look at every man till he finishes the whole circle. Then he says, and what I seen are the most handsome, debonair men in the whole world. And so when you put it together, the most beautiful woman, the most debonair, handsome man, this is the best assembly of people in the whole world, right here, right now. And so what we do is we say hello with love to one another, because we will share this space, and our mind is agreed. And then he says, and now we go to our mother, the earth. At the beginning of the world, our Creator told of earth that she's a woman and she's the mother of all living things. Animals, birds, insects, reptiles, humans, everybody. She's our mother. And every time we're born, she takes us to her body, and from her body, the gardens grow, and we get nourished every day until we pass away. The nourishment of food from our mother's body every day. They don't come from IGA or breast chocolate. They get it from our mother, dear. Every single bit that goes in our mouth. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, in between snack came from Mother Earth. That's what the Creator told her to do. And our mother, the Creator chose such a woman that's so stubborn and so strong, never to stop. That since the beginning of time, she's fed us all, you and I, and our children, right to this day. And that's the best, consistent, strong mother of all mothers of the whole universe. The Creator gave it to us, that kind of mother. She never threw us away, and she never abandoned us, our Mother the Earth. And so you and I, who are her children, let our mind become one. And we put many thank yous, and many love, many greetings, and we pick it up, you and I, and we give it to her gently, our Mother. Mother Earth, we say thank you that you never threw us away, you never abandoned us. Thank you, you fed us again today. Mother Earth, your children salute you and love you today, and our mind is agreed. Then it goes to the water. When the Creator made the water, my grandma said, Creator, He touched the water, and Mother Earth touched the water. And they put a soul and a spirit in the water. And then the waters come alive. And my uncle says that's how come water come from the sky and the snow and the rain on top of the mountain. And springtime come, the snow melts on the mountain. Or the rain come down the mountain in the valley. And it comes to Lake George, or not George, or Fonda, or Messina, or Malone, or Syracuse, or Chicago. And wherever our town or village is, that water quenches our thirst every day. And that's what the Creator told the water to do. That's why water is always moving. And the creeks in the ocean and the river looking for us. Not just us, the deers and the bears, raccoons and rabbits, to quench our thirst every day. And so what will we do about it? We put many thank you, green and love, until it touches the ceiling. And then you and I will pick up that big thank you and love. We throw it to the east, to the north, west, and south. So every river, every lake, every spring, every ocean will receive our thank you for the quenching of our thirst yesterday and again today. And because we are grateful, the water will be so happy it will keep running, and our children will have water to drink. And so what is the world? Your human relatives would love, just thank you, and our mind is agreed. It is also to the trees the Creator made, all kind of trees. And our grandma and our grandpa told us when we were little kids all the time that amongst all the varieties of trees, He chose the maple tree to be the chief of all the different kinds of trees. Maple will be the leader. And that's why He told us, because when the snow goes away, it is the blood of the maple tree starts first to run before any other tree. And you will take the sap and you will cleanse yourself as a medicine before you cook it. You drink the sap. And then when you're done that, now you cook that sap and be some maple syrup. You'll fix your food with that and make it taste good. It's medicine. And so we have ceremonies for maple tree and all trees that grows all over the world. Every year we do that. And so to the trees, they give us an apple, they give us oranges and plums, cherries, all kind of fruit, hickory nut, pecan nut, all kind. To you and the animals, we all eat it from there. And our grandmother said, perhaps the biggest gift of the tree, though, is it makes the air that we breathe, the oxygen, so that we can live. And so the tree is the symbol of peace, too. That's why I use that cane, the white pine, the tree of peace. And the trees are still going. Maple tree is still the chief. In a hot summer day, we work hard in the garden. We take a break and go under the shade of the tree, and there we rest in coolness and peace. And so the trees are still here, the way the Creator made it. So what will we do? We'll put our minds together, and we put it here, layers of thank you, layers of greetings, layers of love. And then we pick it up, you and I, and we throw it east, north, west, and south. So every tree and every forest, big and small, and even baby tree, will receive our human salute of greetings and love, because they make us breathe the air, and they give us the food of the fruits, so we will live. The trees of the world, with love we say thank you, and our mind is agreed. Then it goes on to the berries. Strawberries, the leader of the berry world. And we got big ceremonies for strawberry, raspberries, blackberry, all berries, every year, without fail. From there, the corn, beans, and squash, the things we plant in the garden. And then there's also included, it's the wild potatoes that you don't plant, and wild carrots and wild turnips. You don't have to plant it. It grows by itself. So to all the vegetation, we send thank you, greed, and love, and our minds agreed. Then it goes to the birds, the eagle, for singing a song every day. And I guess I should tell you that one Grandma likes the best is the bird, because Grandma said that you're supposed to smile 3 times a day. Minimally, you smile from ear to ear, so the white of your teeth is show from ear to ear. A genuine, truthful smile 3 times. 3 times minimally a day. And Grandma said if you don't know how to do that, then you should not even been born, because you missed how to live a joyous life. She don't want, Creator don't want, Mother Earth don't want your lips to be dragging on the ground as you live. So He made the birds. He told the birds, the robin and mourning dove, and the hundreds of other birds, He gave them beautiful songs. He said, as you see the old brother sun come, bring the dawning of a new day, all you birds will get up before the sun shows his face, and you will face the east, and you will sing your hundreds of beautiful songs to welcome the sun, the brand new miraculous day. And when the humans and the bears and the deers hear you singing, you the birds will shake their mind, so that boredom and lonesomeness will not find a home in their body. And so no matter how cold it gets in the winter, if you get up early, you'll hear them birds. They never forgot what the Creator told them. And so to the eagle, the leader, their leader, we said to them, thank you, and we send them our love for singing the song of this beautiful, miraculous day, and our mind is agreed. And to the 4 winds, to the thunder, to bring the new rain, the new water in our rivers and creeks and wells, so everything always will be fresh. We call them grandfather thunders. To the 4 winds, they bring the changing of the season, so that little baby robins and little baby deers, little baby humans can be born. To the sun, our old brother, who shines the light. That's why the Lakotas and Mohawks and Hopi and Navajo, we all got sun dances. Because if the sun should ever go out, everybody go out. No more baby will ever be born. And you and I will not live anymore. And that's why we keep dancing. Because we don't want the sun to go out. We show our gratitude through a dancing of joy, our sun dance. And then to the nighttime sun, our grandma. We call her grandma because every 30 days she makes one cycle, and she's the leader of all women. And every month she says, okay, ladies, get ready. And the body get ready, like a new bed, soft bed, where a little human can begin their life. And that's how I got here. That's how you got here. It's because of the cycle of the moon. And our mother gave us birth, and we came to the world. And so to our grandma, we say thank you for the birth of all life, and our mind is agreed. That the 4 sacred beings and the stars that beautify the nighttime sky more better than any artist can ever draw or paint. When the Creator, Mother Earth, made the stars at the night time, no artist can make it more beautiful. And they're the ones, the stars, that put the morning dewdrops on every blade of grass in the drought of summer, so there will always be light. And so to our Creator and to your sacred being, we say thank you for this good group, this good assembly. And this is what now the Reader's Digest of the original instructions that all human beings were given when we began our life on planet Earth. He gave it to the white man, he gave it to the black man, he gave it to the yellow man, and he gave it to the red man. Every human race were given the same, except we never forgot ours. We never changed it, because the sun is still there, the moon is still there, Mother is still there, the water still quenches our thirst. There's no need to modify. It's always there. And so with that, we put many thank you, greetings, and love until it touches the ceiling. And then you and I, on behalf of our kids, will pick it up and we'll throw it high into the universe. And say, Creator, thank you for the perfect world we live. Thank you. We are still here, and our mind is agreed. And that's the Reader's Digest. It goes 1 hour actually, but I want Kay to have a time to do a story too. So I want to say thank you that you allow me, with the respect, to listen to these few words that was always destroyed by the colonizer of the people. Residential schools and all kind of missionaries try to kill us. So we don't do this. We don't have no more ceremony. But I want to say thank you to Grandma for being a stubborn old Mohawk lady that never refused to let it go. And that's how come I still know a little bit. And I think the prophecy was too, when I was a little boy, our old leaders in our ceremony house said, one day will come when our children and grandchildren will talk to the world and the world will listen to them. And then everybody can renew the original instructions so that Mother Earth can be saved. The waters that quench our thirst cannot be polluted anymore. And that will become the primary goal of every people, every race. And then we'll have a good life, if we can do that. And so I turn it and I say, thank you. I turn over to Kay now.
I mentioned to some of you earlier about some upcoming events, and we put information over there, but also we can put, I have some flyers for places you might want to visit, like the Iroquois Indian Museum and the Six Nations Iroquois Cultural Center, and you can visit, read about them online and on these brochures and maybe visit them, so I have that information here as well. And some handouts if you're interested. And then, by the way, Tom has written quite a few books and pamphlets, and one of the books that he's written, I don't know if he brought any today. Well, I brought one to show you, and then you can, yes, Lord.
They're in the bookshop. We have a few in the bookshop.
Wonderful.
Tom brought them last time.
Oh, okay. It's fantastic. And it's Tom wrote this, and Grandma said, Iroquois teachings has passed down through the oral tradition. And she told him in a vision to write this book and to write down all the things that she and the people of her generation taught Tom. And Leslie Forrester, who put this together, she put it in Tom's voice. So when you read it, it sounds like he's in the room with you. It sounds just like the way he talks. And so I wanted to let you know about this book. And then there's a place at Haudenosaunee called Indian Time, and they produce this educational supplement that's meant for educators and students, but even if you're not an educator, even if you're not a student, but we're all students because we're all still learning, right? It's everything you always wanted to know about us is in here. So, and it's written by Iroquois people, about Iroquois people. And so you can look at this and copy down the name and look online so you could find out how to get this. It's just a wonderful publication. So I wanted to start with that. In our culture, in our teachings, we have all kinds of stories. We have stories that remind us from where we have come, and like our creation story, we have stories that remind us of how the confederacy of the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca, how they unified into a peace confederacy. Can you hear me in the back? And we have stories about our treaties, and our treaties are, many of them are recorded in wampum belts. This is a replica of a wampum belt. And this particular one talks about what Tom was talking about when he told you about the significance of the condolence cane. This one talks about the unity, again, unification of the 5 nations that formed the Haudenosaunee or Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois Confederacy, and which is a long story, as Tom mentioned, takes many days to tell the whole thing. But what we would do is we would notice which of our young people had good memories, and we would train them to memorize the speeches that would go with each wampum belt. And from time to time ask them to recite those speeches so we would never forget what we learned in the past and from where we have come. And we would never forget about our treaties and important events. And those stories are very important to us, just as our creation story is, just as the formation of the Confederacy. So we have all kinds of stories. We have personal stories, we have legends, we have stories that explain why things are the way they are. We have stories that remind us of how we should behave with one another so that we can live in peace and in harmony. We have stories that remind us to laugh together, because we just found out how important that is, to laugh at least 3 times a day. And we have scary stories. We have all kinds of stories. And what's wonderful about that is that it brings us together. The people here at the Historical Society worked hard to put out a flyers that brought all of you here tonight so we could share an experience together so that we can think about what we experienced today and think about how that might help us in the future and open the door to discussion. So our stories help to also open the door to discussion afterwards. So I'd like to share a story with you right now. And this one, I like to tell at this time of year because Tom drove all the way down here through the Adirondacks and noticed what's going on in the environment on the way down. And I drove up not that far from the south, and I came here and noticed what was going on all around us. And you probably experienced the same thing when you came here. And maybe you were wondering why you were seeing what you saw. So I'll share this story with you. Long, long ago, there was a village, and in that village, the people used to be very happy. They would laugh, they would tell stories with one another, they would joke with one another. But that was changing. And each day, the people were getting more and more worried. And so there wasn't very much laughter anymore. If you looked at the racks where ordinarily meat would be drying, the racks were empty. There was no drying meat on them. If you looked at the people, you would notice that you could see the bones in their bodies. There was very little flesh on them. If you looked at the people's eyes, you would notice that they were kind of dull and sad. And then you realize these people were starving. These people were hungry. It seems for quite some time now, when the hunters would go out into the forest to look for game that they could bring home so that they could cook it up and feed their families, they weren't finding any. They were traveling further and further and further away from their village because there was nothing nearby. There were no rabbits, there were no deer, and they were getting very worried. They were worried about their families and their friends and were they going to survive. And they were also very confused. Why was this happening? Where have all the animals gone? Well, one day a young hunter went out into the forest. He was hoping to find some game. He was hoping to find some animals that he could hunt and bring home and help to feed his family. And he was thinking so hard about this dilemma. He was thinking so hard about this problem that I don't think he was paying attention to where he was walking. And all of a sudden he tripped and he fell. And he got up on his feet and he looked and he saw a great big depression in the path. And he'd been down this path many times before, never noticed that depression before, that place where he fell, where he tripped. And he wondered about it. He was wondering, how did this come to be? It was as big as this whole space here. And he walked around it and he couldn't figure it out. And then he climbed up to on a little hill nearby and he looked down. And what he saw frightened him. It astounded him because he realized that that place where he tripped, there was that depression, but from a little bit from that hill, when he looked down, he could see it wasn't just a depression. It was a giant footprint. And he was an experienced hunter. He was young, but he was experienced. And when he looked at that footprint, at that paw mark, he realized what kind of animal made it. It had been made by Oguali, the bear. But not just any bear. This was an enormous bear that made that giant footprint. And he thought to himself, that's what's going on. If there is a bear in these woods so big that it could make such a huge footprint here, he must have an enormous appetite. He must be eating all of the animals. And that's why my people are starving. And then he thought about it some more and he thought, if he's having a difficult time finding food like we are, what's he going to eat next? And he realized that his village was in danger. And so instead of continuing on, he turned around, went back to his village and told everybody what he had seen and what he had thought about. And the people were dismayed. They didn't know what to think. They didn't know how to react. They didn't know what they should do about it. Until finally they decided, well, let's send out 10 of our finest hunters tomorrow. And they'll track down Oguali Goa, this giant bear. And then we won't have to worry about him anymore. And so the next day they sent 10 of their finest hunters out into the woods. They had no trouble tracking Oguali Goa because when you have a bear that big and it comes to a tree, it doesn't go around it, it just knocks it down. And his tracks were so big, he was easy to follow. All of them were thinking about what they were going to do when they saw this monster bear. When they came around a bend in the path, and there he was. There was Oguali Goa, and he was even bigger than what they had imagined. And they fled. And some of them were thinking about turning around and running back, but they didn't because they knew they were there on a mission. They were there on a mission to save their families, save their friends, save their village. And so they shot their arrows and they threw their spears. But when you have a bear that big, his fur is so thick and his skin is so tough that those spears and those arrows just bounce off. And all you do is aggravate that bear, so much so that he comes after the hunters. And he destroyed all of the hunters but one. And that one, he escaped and he went home to his village and he told everybody what happened. And the people were frightened and they were sad for their children and they were confused. They just didn't know what to do. That was their plan. That was their only plan. And so it was very difficult for them to sleep that night. But the next morning, a young boy woke up and he turned to his two brothers and he said, last night I had a dream. I dreamt that the three of us three brothers, had the power to destroy that bear. And his two brothers looked at him with astonishment because they had dreamt the same dream. Three brothers dreamt the same dream that night, and the next night, and the third night. And so they decided to tell the people in the village. And when the people heard about this, they said, "You three boys dreamt the same dream 3 nights in a row, so it must be true. You have the power to destroy Ogualigoa and save this village." And so they made special weapons for them and they had a ceremony. And the next day, the 3 brothers went into the forest to track Ogualigoa. Now, I don't know if Ogualigoa had the same dream or if he felt that a great power was coming after him. He started to run away. He ran over the hills. The boys followed. He ran across the plains. The boys followed. He ran over the mountains. The boys followed. And then he came to a great water. And when he came to that water, he didn't know what to do. And finally he looked up and he said, "That's where I'll go." And he jumped and he leapt into the sky and he ran across the sky. He was no ordinary bear. And the boys came to that great water, looked all around. They didn't see him until they finally looked up and they saw him running across the sky. And they said, "If he can do that, so can we, because we have the power of our dreams and we have the support of our people, the faith of our people." And so they jumped into the sky and they followed Ogualigoa, chasing him across the sky. Now, at this time of year, the days get shorter and the weather gets cooler. And like a lot of other bears, Ogualigoa starts to tire. He's done a lot of running. And so what he does is he circles around in the sky. How many people here ever had a dog? How many of you ever saw a dog? If you ever watch a dog, when that dog gets tired, many times it'll circle around and then lay down. And that's what bears do too. And so this bear would circle around in the sky and lay down. And when he did that, the boys would be able to get close enough to throw their spears and shoot their arrows. And because they had the power of their dreams and the faith of their people, and because they had those special weapons that the people made for them, the arrows and the spears were able to penetrate deeper. Not enough to destroy Ogualigoa, but just deep enough to make some fat drip down and color the leaves yellow, and some blood drip down and color some of the leaves red. And that's why you see the changes that are starting to happen now. It's because those 3 boys are still up there protecting us, making sure that Ogualigoa doesn't come back. And at this time of year, on a clear night, you can look up and you can see them. You can see what looks like a star here, one here, and one there. That's Ogualigoa. And then you see three, what looks like stars following. Those are the three boys. Still chasing him, still protecting us, still watching out for us. And that's how that story goes. So traditionally, after a story is told, a lot of times people would think about it and then maybe talk about it and try to figure out how they could apply it to their lives, how it might help them with a problem that they're having. And what I like to do is, if I have a lot of young people in the audience, I remind them that who are the heroes in that story? It was three young boys. And I think in this day and age, some of our young people feel powerless about what's going on in the world. And so when I tell this story, I try to point out that here are three young boys that saved their whole village because of what they did. And they didn't give up. And you have those powers too. You people, young people, middle-aged people, older people, we all have the power to make this a safer place if we work together and if we think about what's really important. We can all make a difference. And so that's how that story goes. Tom had mentioned before about that painting in Albany. And in 1988, there was a resolution passed by the United States Senate recognizing the contributions of our Constitution, the great law, to the formation of the U.S. Constitution. And it was proposed by Senator Inoue from Hawaii at that time. And there was actually a coin that was minted by the United States. And this is one of them. And on the back, I'll pass it around, you'll see this. And you'll also see 5 arrows on there, which is also one of our stories that talks about the unification of the 5 nations into a peace confederacy. And so that was minted to recognize the contributions, again, of our Constitution, the great law, to the U.S. Constitution. And there are books written about that, that relationship that will actually describe the U.S. Constitution on one side and describe our great law on the other side. You can see the parallels. And so you can look that up online, too. You'll find lots of versions of that online as well. So some of our stories sound like they're just for fun, but when you think about it, there's lessons to be learned in those stories. And those lessons can help people in many, many different ways, depending on how we interpret them. This is also, these are replicas of wampum belts. This is another replica, and this one is called the Two-Row. And this one talks about how when the Dutch came here to the Northeast, they brought their families, they started to build houses, they started to make gardens, and our people noticed that and had meetings and said, well, it looks like they're planning on staying. And so what are we going to do about it? And so there were meetings with the Dutch people and with our people, and one of the things that they came up with was this, the Two-Row. And many people call this the grandfather of all treaties. And the Two-Row, you'll notice, has a white background, and that represents the river of life. And we all travel the river of life, no matter what your background is. And on that river of life, there are two vessels. One is a ship belonging to, in this case, the Dutch, and the other one is a canoe belonging to our people. And the agreement that was made was that we would travel side by side. Notice those two ships are not intersecting with one another. They're traveling in a parallel way. They have agreed to not interfere with each other's ways. In the ship are all of the people that came over from Holland, and in that ship was their stories, their songs, their clothing, their food, their people, their stories, everything that defines who they are. And in our canoe is our people, our songs, our ceremonies, our stories, our history, everything that defines who we are is in that canoe. And the agreement was that we would not try to step into their ship and steer their ship and tell them what to do, and they would not try to step into our canoe and steer our canoe and tell us what to do, but rather we would live as brothers, not as father and son, but as equals, as brothers, side by side, respecting each other's ways. And not only that, but there's 3 beads in between representing friendship and peace forever. And that's how long this treaty was to be in effect. As long as the grass shall grow, as long as the rivers flow, and as long as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And the other part of this agreement was that whether you're in that ship or in that canoe, we would all take care of the water. We would all take care of the environment, not only for our sakes, but also for the sake of the generations to come. We're supposed to think ahead and consider the effects of our words and actions on the future generations, on the next generation and the 7 generations to come. And if we do that, then maybe we can heal Mother Earth. Maybe if we do that, we can make sure that our great, 7 greats grandchildren can live in a place as beautiful as we're living in today.
Now, I was going to share one more with you to see what you think about it. 5 years ago, I was invited to go to a world conference on environment being held in the CN Tower in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And I didn't want to go there because I never studied environment science before. But all world people were coming there. There was over 10,000 people came to that conference. But some people in Montana sent me a check of money. They said, can you go to that meeting? We want you to go to that meeting. And here's money to put gas in your car. Another lady in Toronto called me up and said, we want you to come to that meeting. And they said, we're going to get a hotel for you where you can stay. We pay it for you. And I really was wondering, why do these people want me to go there? And I don't want to go there, because I never studied environment. But they sent me the check, so what am I going to do? So on that day in December, 5 years ago, I jumped in my car. That's when I was living in Fonda, the Mohawk Valley, and the thruway is right across the river. And so I told my wife, I says, well, that lady's got a hotel for me, and they pay already, and I got the money they sent for gas. I says, maybe I better go, because they think it's important. So I jump in my car, and all by myself, and I go. And me, I always listen to country music. I love country music. And I go somewhere, and I get there real quick, but I'm listening to country music. I got to Rochester, past Syracuse, I got to Rochester. And you know how the countries, station on radio, sometimes you go to a different place, it fades out, another one come in, and they go like this.
Yeah.
Well, they started to do that. All of a sudden, I thought it was the radio, a Mohawk woman was talking my language. And I says, that can't be. There's no Mohawk live around here. If you go to Haudenosaunee, you could hear it on the radio, or Ganawagi, next to Montreal, you can hear it, because they got radio stations, and Mohawks talk language over there. And so I shut the radio right off, because I thought I was shocked. How can a Mohawk talk to a woman? When I shut the radio, she kept talking. It was coming through the air, somehow through the air, and going in my head. And this is what she said. She said, I came to see you today because you don't want to go to that meeting, that big meeting over there in Toronto. And that's why I came to see you. I'm the mother, and I'm the mother of all things. I'm the Mother Earth, she said. And she's talking Mohawk. But I'm driving naturally. Then she says, if when you get to Toronto and they open the door and they want you to talk to them, you tell them that I came to see you and what I'm telling you. You tell them. And the reason I'll come to see you is because she said almost all the people in the world who are my kids, my children, have forgotten who I am. They don't know who I am. And then she wants to cry. I could feel it in her throat. They're cracking up. She says, and I'm lonesome for my kids, my children. But she's talking more. Tell me. And she says, when you get to Toronto and they allow you to talk over there to them, you tell them, there are 2 days in the year when the day and the night is the same length of time. Twice. Once in the fall, once in the winter time. I don't even know what that was. I really never studied that. But people later told me they call it equinox. But I didn't know that. But that's what she told me. When the day and the night is the same length of time. One is in March and one is in September, coming up. She says, you tell her, if the people tell you to talk to them, tell them, and here's what I'd like you to do. Over there, and or in Haudenosaunee, because I got children up there, all grown with their own kids and grandkids. And I have one daughter live with me in the Mohawk Valley, 5 years ago. She says, what I would like you to do, and she's talk Mohawk, she said, and my grandma used to say that. Whenever she got to go to ceremony or some kind of medicine doing, she always says, you want to go with me if you're willing? Always she told me, if I'm willing. She never said, you gotta go, or break your leg. She never said that. Always she just invite me if I wanna. Any ceremony. I guess that's how come I always go with her, because she never said, oh, you gotta do this. It was always my choice. So that's what that lady said. And it kind of made me think real hard. It sounded like my grandma, but it's not. It's a Mother Earth talking. He says, when you get over there, and she said, what I want you to do, when that day and night is the same equal, you and your wife invite your kids and grandkids, or your kids can do it at Haudenosaunee, and you go over there. Either way, don't matter. But if you do that, you cook a big meal beforehand. Bring all your kids and grandkids. And you see, and it says, in the morning time, before the sun shows the sunshine face, only the dawn is coming like it is now. When the dawn comes before the sunshine. You make a fire, and you use the sacred tobacco, and you offer to me, Mother Earth, and to the Creator of life. And when you finish doing that at sunrise, you'll be just done when the sun shows their face. Then you can have a big eating, like a feast, with all your kids and grandkids. And then when you're finished eating, all together, your whole family, those that want, and you finish, then you can ride a canoe on the Mohawk River. Or you can ride a bicycle with your grandkids, bicycle, or you can walk on a mountain behind our barn in the woods. And then she said, when you finish eating, you sit down with your kids and grandkids, and you tell them all the how come I'm their mother, and how come they're my kids. You tell them, explain everything to them. Everything you know about it, tell them. Then I can have my kids back again. I visit my kids again, because she's lonesome for them. And then she says, you can ride the canoe or ride a bike or go hiking in the woods, but nothing that uses gas or motor. Mm-hmm. Only a canoe or bike or anything you don't use motor or gas or oil, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then she says, and then in the late after the day is going down, before the sun disappears on the western horizon, you make fire again and put your sacred tobacco the way you did in the morning. And when you're done, the sun goes past the western sky. You have done everything what I asked you to do. And she says, I know in the barn you got a John Deere tractor. Don't you ride that tractor out there? And she didn't know that, and I didn't know that. She knows. And then she says, I'm asking you this, my son. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. But doga satunda, don't, if you are willing. That will please me to no end. I will be so pleased. But if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. I'm not going to twist your arm. I'm not going to, what do you call it in English? I'm not going to threaten you or coerce you. You have to do it because you want to do it for me, your mother. And when you get over there to Toronto, you tell them, nobody has to, and don't threaten them and don't scare them about end of the world or nothing. Don't make them afraid. Only because if they want to do it, they can do it too. And the more they do it, the more I'm not lonesome, the more. And I share that with you. So you can tell your kids, your family, your friends, but don't threaten them or don't scare them. She only wants her children that comes to her willingly, not because of threat or no fear. Then there will be real joy. And I give that too. That's a real what happened just 5 years ago. And so every year, that's what my family does now. It's coming up soon. They will tell you on that telephone. Ask Siri, she'll tell you when that. When the equinox is coming. But I guess that's all I have. And thank you, Kay, too, that good story.
Yawagoa, everybody, for coming and letting us share with you today. And I guess there are refreshments nearby, and there's some handouts here, handouts there.
Yes, and we want a big round of applause. Just to give you a little bit of an offering, these are commemorative cards, and there's a bookmark as well of the museum, and also a mug from the Georgia Historical Association.
Oh, nice.
Back in the white man's, that's styrofoam. So This is a little token of our appreciation. Thank you all for coming.